Kurt Cobain. In 1991, Kurt Cobain reshaped rock history with Nevermind. As the frontman of Nirvana, he became the voice of a disillusioned generation, symbolized by the global explosion of Smells Like Teen Spirit. At 27, he was a worldwide icon, but he struggled with the burden. He rejected industry expectations, avoided the press, and became deeply uncomfortable with fame. Behind the scenes, the warning signs were building. Cobain battled severe depression, chronic physical pain, and increasing dependency on various substances. In March 1994, he was hospitalized in Rome following a concerning incident that alarmed those close to him, especially his partner, Courtney Love. Soon after, he left a Los Angeles rehab clinic unexpectedly and went missing. On April 8th, a technician discovered his body in a small room above his garage in Seattle. A letter addressed to his daughter, Frances, was found nearby, expressing both affection and inner turmoil. The investigation concluded that his passing had occurred a few days earlier. The news spread rapidly. Thousands of fans gathered outside his home, shocked and mourning. The media portrayed him as a fragile artist, torn between sensitivity and the relentless machinery of fame. Conspiracy theories circulated but were never substantiated. Nirvana ceased all activity. Dave Grohl, devastated, would later found Foo Fighters. The grunge movement lost its figurehead, leaving a deep void in rock. Cobain's tragic end triggered overdue conversations about mental health in the music world. In the years that followed, some record labels began including wellness clauses for young artists. His legacy, however, endures. Albums like In Utero and Unplugged in New York, along with reissues and rare archives, keep his voice alive. His impact remains palpable through documentaries, tributes, and festivals. A blazing star extinguished by a system that failed to protect him. Amy Winehouse. In 2006, Amy Winehouse emerged as one of the most distinctive voices of her generation with Back to Black. Her fusion of soul, jazz, and R&B, her raw lyrics, and retro aesthetic captivated listeners. Fueled by hits like Rehab and You Know I'm No Good, she won 5 Grammy Awards and became a British music icon. Yet, her personal life quickly drew as much attention as her career. Tabloids obsessively tracked her, focusing on her rocky relationships and moments of public breakdown. Her romance with Blake Fielder Civil became a constant source of turmoil and media fascination. By 2007, troubling signs appeared: unpredictable performances, canceled concerts, and visible changes in her health. Several rehab attempts were made, but Winehouse remained caught in a destructive cycle. In July 2011, following what seemed like a promising period of stability, she was found unresponsive at her home in Camden, London. The coroner later confirmed her death was related to acute alcohol intake. She was 27. The UK was stunned. Mourners gathered outside her home in tribute, and the media began questioning the role of fame in her decline. Soon after, her family established the Amy Winehouse Foundation to help young people struggling with addiction. Her influence is still felt today, particularly in the work of artists like Adele and Duffy. Back to Black remains one of the UK's best-selling albums of the 21st century. Even with only 2 albums, her artistic legacy remains untouched. Her instantly recognizable voice continues to resonate through soundtracks, documentaries, and live tributes. Winehouse's death, though foreshadowed by years of visible struggle, left a deep sense of lost potential and musical brilliance. Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix exploded onto the London scene in 1966, but it was at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967 that the world saw the full scope of his genius. By setting his guitar on fire during his set, he became a symbol of the psychedelic era's excess and creativity. Hendrix quickly rose as a revolutionary figure in rock, with groundbreaking albums like Are You Experienced?, Axis Bold as Love, and Electric Ladyland. He wasn't just a guitarist, he was a sonic innovator, pushing the boundaries of the electric guitar. But behind the artistic revolution lay mounting personal turmoil. The exhaustion from non-stop touring, managerial conflicts, and lifestyle habits began to take a toll. By 1970, his behavior became increasingly erratic, and several concerts ended prematurely. On September 18th, while staying in London with his partner, Monica Dannemann, he was found unconscious after ingesting a mixture of substances. Despite the emergency response, he did not survive. He was 27. The medical report cited complications related to respiratory function. His death, coming just weeks before Janis Joplin's, intensified the belief that something cursed this generation of musicians. The press unanimously mourned an irreplaceable loss. Posthumous releases in the years that followed revealed the breadth of his creative work. Hendrix became an icon, inspiring generations of guitarists, his techniques taught in music schools across the globe. Even today, his image remains tethered to a revolutionary moment in music history, a beacon of both artistic freedom and the risks of fame at full speed. Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin rose in the 1960s as one of rock's most electrifying voices. A pioneer among female rockers, she delivered raw, emotionally charged performances that left a lasting impression on the psychedelic era. In 1970, she was in Los Angeles recording a new album and staying at the Landmark Motor Hotel, a familiar place to her. Though she was known for her wild lifestyle, colleagues reported that the Pearl sessions were going well and that she seemed in good spirits. On October 3rd, she failed to appear at the studio, which alarmed her team. The following day, her manager went to the hotel and found her deceased in her room. The official report linked her death to the use of an unusually strong substance. She was 27. Just hours earlier, she had made small personal purchases and appeared in relatively good form, adding to the shock. Her death came only 16 days after Hendrix's, adding to the sense of a generational curse. No public ceremony was held. Her remains were cremated and her ashes scattered over the Pacific Ocean. The hotel where she stayed still operates today and quietly preserves the room's layout. Pearl was released posthumously and became one of her most acclaimed works. Joplin's untamed voice and fearless stage presence paved the way for generations of female artists. Her legacy continues to burn brightly, even in her absence. Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson remains a mythical figure in American blues. Born in 1911 in Mississippi, he lived a transient life, performing on street corners and in backcountry bars across the South. In just 2 recording sessions in 1936 and 1937, he recorded 29 songs, works like Sweet Home Chicago, Crossroad Blues, and Love in Vain, that would later shape the entire sound of rock music. Legends about his life abound, particularly the tale that he sold his soul at a crossroads in exchange for his musical prowess. In the summer of 1938, while performing near Greenwood, Mississippi, he allegedly accepted a bottle of whiskey from someone in the crowd. Soon afterward, he fell violently ill. Eyewitnesses described several days of suffering and physical decline. On August 16, 1938, he passed away at the age of 27. No physician was present. No autopsy was performed. His burial site remains a subject of debate, with at least 3 grave sites claiming to hold his remains. At the time, the world paid little attention. It wasn't until the 1960s blues revival that his recordings gained global recognition. His obscure end and scarce documentation have only added to his legend. Though he died in near anonymity, Johnson's music went on to inspire the very core of rock's evolution. He is now seen as a foundational figure, a ghostly presence still heard in riffs and lyrics decades later.
Brian Jones.
Brian Jones was the founding member of the Rolling Stones and played a crucial role in shaping their bluesy sound during the early 1960s. A gifted multi-instrumentalist, he introduced the sitar, dulcimer, and marimba into their recordings, giving the band a unique sonic texture. But as the group evolved, Jones found himself increasingly sidelined. Tensions rose between him and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and his presence in studio sessions declined. Struggling with personal challenges, he grew more isolated. In June 1969, he was officially dismissed from the band. Just weeks later, on the night of July 2nd, at his home Cotchford Farm in Sussex, he was discovered unresponsive in his swimming pool after a late-night swim. Emergency services were called, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. He was 27. The official cause was accidental drowning, compounded by health and lifestyle factors. Some who were close to him have speculated about possible foul play involving a contractor who was at the house, but no definitive evidence ever emerged. Jones was buried in Cheltenham, his hometown. The pool was later filled in, and the estate changed ownership several times. His passing marked the first major loss in what would come to be known as the 27 Club. Often overlooked in later years, Jones was a visionary who helped define the Stones' early edge, and his influence remains embedded in their legacy.
Pete Ham.
Pete Ham, lead vocalist and principal songwriter for Badfinger, was part of one of the first major signings to the Beatles' Apple Records. In the early 1970s, the band had hits like Day After Day and No Matter What. Ham's song Without You, later covered by Harry Nilsson and Mariah Carey, became a global classic. Yet behind their commercial success, chaos reigned. The group's manager, Stan Polly, was accused of financial mismanagement, and the band found themselves locked out of their own earnings. Despite chart success and constant touring, they were deep in debt. Ham, now a young father, felt increasingly hopeless. On April 23, 1975, after spending the evening with bandmate Tom Evans, he expressed despair about their situation. The next morning, he was found deceased in his garage. He was 27. A note left behind pointed to betrayal and financial devastation. Authorities found no signs of outside involvement. His funeral was held quietly in Swansea, Wales. The band soon unraveled. Years later, Tom Evans would also take his own life. Ham's story has since become a cautionary tale of how the industry can fail its own artists. Still, his music lives on, celebrated in tributes, reissues, and the voices of those who continue to cover his timeless songs.
Richie Edwards.
Alienation, identity, and mental health with striking intensity, but his words reflected a very personal battle. Edwards was open about his struggles with depression, eating disorders, and inner turmoil. On February 1, 1995, the day he was scheduled to fly to the US for a promotional tour, he checked out of his London hotel and disappeared. CCTV footage captured him making a small cash withdrawal, but he was never seen again. 2 weeks later, his car was found abandoned near the Severn Bridge, a location known for its tragic history. Despite exhaustive investigations, no trace of him was ever found. In 2008, 13 years after his disappearance, he was declared legally presumed dead. He was 27 at the time he vanished. While some believe he may have taken his own life, others continue to speculate about a staged disappearance. The band decided to carry on as a trio, often honoring him in lyrics and dedications. His name remains on the UK's Register of Missing Persons. His story is one of the most haunting mysteries in modern music, a reminder of how even brilliant voices can quietly disappear, leaving behind silence and questions. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the dark side of music history. See you in the next one.